Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folari, and indeed, we're full of apologies for coming way behind schedule. This is, as you know, you must have been waiting for us, but we've sorted those things out, hopefully, and here we are. So without much ado, much of our time has been eaten. I have to go into it. As you know, we're looking into as we're moving into 100 days of COVID-19 for this week, and we've picked on we've selected the hospitality industry because, as you know, that also in type of phased opening that we are, engaged in now, there are aspects of it, the general guidelines, where the federal government said that the state governments will, by their own discretion, know when it is fitting and proper to open up certain sectors. Now, the Commissioner for Tourism, Arts and Culture, Uzamat Akimbile Yusuf, has said, at the Lagos State briefing that they had, that Lagos State is not in any hurry to open up that sector because they weren't going to do anything that would jeopardize the work that is going on elsewhere, that even though they could open, according to the guidelines, they don't feel that it is right to do so. Now this, that entertainment, the hospitality industry, maybe even tourism, is all part of that. And towards that, we have Mr. Seyi Adeyemo, who you know on our program. But Mr. Seyi Adeyemo is a publisher and indeed a tourism enthusiast. And good morning, Mr. Adeyemo. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Uncle Yori.
Thank you very much. You can probably understand Lagos when they say by their own lights, by their own calculations, it's not the right time, even though they could go there. This is probably going to be a disappointment to people in the tourism sector, but how biting do you think it will be in terms of trying to reopen the entertainment and the hospitality sectors of industry in Lagos?
As God will have it, what we're all going through right now is a global problem. And all of us are stakeholders in this. And I'm sure, yes, in the tourism or entertainment industry, people are perceived to be unserious, people who like fun and all that. But they are also very, very responsible people. There are people who understand that life is very, very important and safety is also important. What I would just want to say is that for me, the COVID-19 has shown to all of us that governance is a serious business. And what I mean seriously by that is the fact that it's not just taking a particular decision and thinking that, answers all. It has shown us that as a person who runs a country or state, you must be ready to think 2 or 3 things at the same time. In other words, you must be one that is able to combine solutions. So we're looking at safety of life. We're also looking at saving business. We're looking at all of this at the same time. So in my opinion, what you'll be looking at is, yes, we're going to face this out. We're going to do it gradually, but we must be deliberate doing it so to ensure that everyone's interest is taken on board, because at the end of the day, these people pay tax, and the government needs all the money it can get right now, considering what the government has suffered. Just last week, the Minister of Communication was saying that Nigerian government was broke.
Indeed. Seyi, in fact, a lady, a hotelier, shall we say, she owns a hotel, and she had called in, this was weeks before, and she just didn't know. She thought that they just weren't paying, the authorities weren't paying attention to her sector, the way she had put it. Now, government has said that since then in Lagos that hotels are going to have to regularize, upgrade and sort of outfit themselves, one, in order to be able to begin to operate safely when the time comes, and then 2, also so as to get whatever palliatives will be, available, that kind of a thing. So it's not a simple matter, especially if you're going to open up to the public. The modalities of it still have to be worked out, right?
Yeah, obviously. And again, that is another reason to worry, because the problem really is people or business people don't really trust Lagos state government. So they've had situations where they come up for registration like this. At the end of the day, they're chasing them with taxes, with clamming down and all of that. So for me, the COVID-19 has also offered us another opportunity for government to earn the trust of the people in the way they deal with the people, in the way they engage with them. Because at the end of the day, the government is for the people. So each time we have a situation where people are advised to come register and people are afraid that that will turn to become a policing issue where people will start to be chased up and down and they're reluctant to come register, is something that government should be concerned about. Because at the end of the day, the reason why they're in office is for these people. So they must find a way of earning their trust. So that, because for me, it is an ideal thing to do. People need to come register so that everything that needs to be done to ensure that people's lives are protected must be done. But it must be done in a way that people trust government sufficiently enough to come forward.
Now, tourism is also something that Lagos State takes quite seriously. How do you see COVID-19 affecting that aspect? Because the two of them will sort of go together. Right now, understandably, people can't come in from abroad, or even if it is domestic tourism, because of the sort of moratorium on interstate travel. Neither can people come in from other states. But there is a certain amount of business, hopefully, I imagine, that can still be done. What is left? Because even government, in releasing their general guidelines, there were areas that we were saying, look, how is this going to work? On the one hand, bars will not be allowed to reopen, but hotels can open under supervision. Now, there are bars within hotels. We were even joking about it. So how are these things going to be worked out? The same thing with food. That's a major part of the hospitality industry. Hotels and food go together. These are the details that are going to have to be worked out, because restaurants on the outside cannot take sitting customers. It's only a sort of a takeaway kind of a setup. Yet you can't, how is that going to work within an hotel? So these, quite frankly, the hoteliers are not in a very lovely place right now.
No, so the idea is, like you said, work out. We would have to do everything, within our power, and I'm referring to government right now, to ensure that everything that needs to be done, so that, look, it is about saving people's life. So yes, you say health is safety. Saving people's business is also safety, because if you have a situations where a lot of people's business are being shut down, over time, people will start to die of starvation. And you don't want to have that. You don't want to have a situation where, okay, for instance, in the US right now, an individual was killed and the whole place, every caution has been thrown into the wind. If you are not careful and you don't manage that protecting people's business as well, you will be surprised that such an action or a situation will occur where people will throw all the caution to the wind and they'll start to take. So government or governing people is a serious business, and everything that needs to be done in the phasing out of all of these things must be done to ensure that business come back to life. I agree that it must be done gradually. I agree that all cautions must be put in place, but it must be done with a lot of aggression and assurance that government is really determined to protect all these people's business.
Because it's a significant area, I imagine we'll also open the phone so that the kind of concerns that I sort of had to narrate, maybe those who are actually engaged with those concerns might be able to call in. And by the way, we're also hoping to get another contributor on Skype, Mr. Sami Uranta, but we'll also open the phones to see if we can also get some feedback from the actual business and the way in which it is affecting them. Because I imagine, there's a depression generally. Hotels, the other day I was reading that even former President Obasanjo's facility, the Presidential Library Complex, that does have a hotel arm, everybody has been sent away. There's nothing we can do. So that's going to be going on, no doubt, in a number of places in Lagos as well. And all of these contribute to it. But it's interesting the point you brought up that there might be mistrust between these business folks and the government. coming forth to register and get their house in order so that when, as Madam said, Mrs. Uzamat Akimbile Yusuf, the Tourism and Tourism, Arts and Culture Commissioner, was saying, we're not in a hurry, which is going to be worrying to them because they have bills. Maybe they have bills to pay that probably won't stop. So there are all these business concerns, but health is everything. They're not going to do anything, they say, which is going to compromise the efforts of government and worsen the situation, because cases are mounting on a daily basis is the truth. Every day there's a new case, and these are not in small numbers. Lagos is still the epicenter.
We agree. Now, let me also quickly bring this to the table. I'm sure you know, sir, that the hotels and all of these people are actually the major customers of farmers. So when you talk about tourism, I want people to also realize that you're actually talking about a very long list of stakeholders: farmers, fish farmers, those who sell vegetables, those who sell livestock. All of these people are going through a lot of downturn right now because the hotels are not working. So you and I, who buy whatever we buy for our homes, are not their major customers. So you don't go into industrialized farming to cater for daily feeding.
Well, okay, yeah, thank you very much for that. At this point, it was bleak. Perhaps there are those who are still thinking to be a bit bleak, but there is a plan to open up the airways, shortly. In fact, we have a report on that, and so that no doubt is going to figure into this, so that we're going to have to see how we can arrange all these things so that they all work together. Very soon, visitors under strict supervision will be able to come in. Let's take that report now.
Flight operations are expected to start on the 21st of June with a caveat for airlines to reduce capacity from 50 to 70% of load factor. The airlines are also expected to service only Abuja, Lagos, Kano, Port Harcourt and Owerri airports. This means reduction in airlines' modality of operations and drop in the number of passengers. For these former pilots, airspace manager and airline operator, the federal government has yet to contact the airlines on specified load factor. He also has his reservations on the designated routes and their effects on airline operations in Nigeria.
Is it because of capacity that they are not going to open the rest of the airports? Then that brings the question that people will be traveling by road to go to those airports, and the capacity will still be a problem on those airports that are open. I believe what we should look at is slot system, where you now stagger arrivals into this airport so that you can control the amount of passengers that come into the airport.
But the regulators allay the fears of lack of alternate airports disrupting flight plans in the new normal in Nigeria.
It's like a test run. We operate these 5 at the initial stage. As things are progressing and all other health protocols are carried out in all the other airports, then of course the extension will go, because things have to be done and certified that it was done properly. All other airports are still available for landing and takeoff for insertion, but the approval has to be obtained.
There are also fears of airworthiness of the aircraft that have been on the ground for at least 2 months.
We have kept those aircrafts alive. Aircrafts are very delicate machines. There are checks that you have to do every 24 hours. There are checks you have to do every 3, every 4, or every 7 days, depending on the make of the aircraft. So we have kept those checks going, and our aircrafts are airworthy, and we have also submitted all the paperwork to show that the aircrafts that we have are airworthy.
On its part, Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria has established a coordinating and monitoring team to ensure passenger facilitation at the nation's airport. The passengers must arrive the airport wearing face masks, observe 2 meters physical distancing, following floor markings, queue ropes, and signage. Low passenger turnout might just be part of the challenges of the new normal in Nigeria, so the airlines need to build public confidence again in flying. to provide safe, reliable, and seamless air transportation in a new normal in Nigeria, airlines, service providers, and the regulators are expected to synergize for the progress of the industry. Lillian Ezemak, TVC News, Lagos.
Okay, then. So it's opening up. We still have Mr. Sheyi Adeyemo on the line, and as I said, we're working on the other guests also being able to be accommodated technically. You can also call in as well and also join the conversation. So Sheyi, as we were seeing there, yeah, the airways will be fully open, although there still is the challenge of low passenger turnout. But we have to be seen to be doing something. It's the same around the world. You said it at the top, that this is a global situation. Hello, Sheyi. Oh, we've been joined by Mr. Uranta, I believe. Mr. Somi Uranta. Good morning, sir.
Exactly.
Okay.
Good day.
Thank you very much. You're an entrepreneur with interest, interestingly, in bar and cleaning, if I understood that properly. Is that correct?
Exactly.
With
Exactly.
bars and cleaning. Now, how did you receive the guidelines? Number one, from the federal government saying that bars will still have to remain closed, but at the same time, they're allowing a phased, supervised kind of opening of hotels. There are bars in hotels. What was your read? Or is there going to have to be more conversation to know exactly where we are? Same thing with our restaurants. There are restaurants within hotels, restaurants that stand alone on the outside. How does all of this work?
Yes, we are all abreast of the pandemic and the gravity effects on humanity, so to say. But coming specifically to our own area, the area of the leisure industry, it's a terrible situation. All of us are aware of it, but the brunt of it, is being borne by people in this side of this subsector. But you see, when people have, some people will think that what does the bad do to the economy? But if you check the unemployment situation, you check even if you know the number of people that work as far as the chain, the value chains, that work in that industry, that line of business. You have the waitresses, the waiters, the caterers, the suppliers, even the breweries. The cumulative effect on the economy is going to be very massive as it is. So, but we have to obey the rules of the game as stipulated by the appropriate authorities. But we have to be very, very careful so that we don't let things get into the next level where, if you notice society now, there has been a lot of issues about domestic violence, about families, having issues. Even you hear about rape and all that. So somehow it's remotely connected to this thing. So the government will have to be careful how we look at this things, because every area of the economy is important to keep things going.
Yeah, but the special aspect of your sector, the hospitality business, as well as entertainment, which is also a part of the whole, sector, is that it involves numerous people. Just like sports, it's a totally different thing. I'm not saying there's even sports is also part of it, even though that's a specialization on its own. It involves huge crowds, and if you look at it, that's the very reason why people are being, why the authorities are being very, very cautious with opening up houses of worship, simply for that reason that it involves large number of people coming together. It might be difficult to keep the social distancing, 2 meters recommendation. Same applies, no doubt, with entertainment and to some extent even with hotels as well. When it comes to, they won't be having capacity is the problem. By the time hotels, as you can imagine, have to comply with the 2-meter social distancing stipulation, the rooms simply are not going to be full. But I imagine there are those who are saying that, look, something is better than nothing, even if they can't break even. I don't know. We've talked a bit about this. The cleaning aspect of your interest, how is that affected? I imagine that because we're not using facilities, they probably don't need cleaning. Or is it my not understanding the business that makes me think like that?
Yes, the cleaning aspect is a different thing entirely. At least that area is not too affected. We are not on lockdown.
One moment, please. I beg your pardon, Mr. Oranta. Yeah? I've got to go on a break, but stay with us, please. I'll be right back with you. Okay, welcome back, and we're looking at the hospitality industry generally. We've even included air transportation. It's a part of it. It's an important part of travel. But then looking at the facilities, the businesses in Lagos, as the Lagos State government is saying through its commissioner, that yeah, they are mindful of the fact that this particular sector employs hordes of people, and that is the problem. If it's a haphazard kind of opening of the space, it just might do more harm than good. So that's really the concern and the worry. But government is saying that people in that sector should regularize themselves, especially the hotels, so that they can, come forward and after regularizing themselves, to make themselves anti-COVID-19 compliant, also position themselves for palliatives from government. And so we're speaking with two stakeholders, Mr. Somi Uranta, and as well as before then, Mr. Sheyi Adeyemo. But in the meantime, Mr. Joshua has called in from Irewolide. Good morning, Mr. Joshua.
Good morning. How are you, sir?
Very well, thank you very much. Thank you for calling in.
I greet your guest.
Indeed.
Quickly, this morning, concerning the reopening of hotels and
the attempt to, but Lagos is not in a hurry to do so, is the problem, from the point of view of the business people.
Yes, I know. I think it's a good thing that they should not be in a hurry to do so, just like in religious places. My point here with this whole COVID-19 management, probably through your program, we can speak to the leaders, especially the two governors of Ogun and Lagos. There's a need for synergy, one, to get the buy-in of the people. Mm-hmm. And secondly, our leadership should look at the structure of the country in terms of COVID-19 differently from geographical division. I don't know how they are claiming that Lagos is different from Ogun State. I don't know where they cut off the boundary of Lagos and Ogun. I think they should look at this country to properly manage this thing. Ogun and Lagos should have complete synergy. The two governors should work together. I think it should be about boundary between Ogun and Oyo State, at least from the major road of the express. And then Lagos and Ogun should work together. Mm-hmm. And they should look at the structure of the total country in that manner. Mm-hmm. Before we can succeed, there must be buy-in of the people. Let the people take responsibility for their life so that all this agitation will simmer down and people will know that it's about their safety. That's the way I think we should move forward.
Indeed.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for calling in, Mr. Joshua. Mr. Uranta, thank you for staying with us. Okay, Sheyi is back on now. Okay, Sheyi. Well, you heard that. An interesting perspective. No doubt they would have been considering it before. This whole matter about, look, geographically, Lagos and Ogun, there's a sense, as you know, there are a heck of a number of hotels in Ogun as well. So very many hotels in Ogun, even in Abeokuta alone, before you now begin to go to all the other towns. In that sense, probably one should take them under one basket. That was an interesting perspective from Mr. Joshua there.
Absolutely, I agree. And like I said earlier, I think this is an opportunity for them to
Sorry. Okay. Let me try the phones while we're sorting out the technical matter. Blessing, calling in from Ajao Estate. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Yori. I was the one that called the other time and talked about hotels.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Sir.
So,
I still want to talk again.
Yes.
Because we've not opened.
Yes.
And we are going through a lot of stress. As I'm telling you, you won't believe it. NEPA came in and they cut off our lights. They have to force me to go and pay for March and April. And as I yesterday again, they are talking about the bill of mail. And I can vouch to you, I swear with God Almighty, we are not working, we are not selling. Even to eat is hard. And all my staff, almost 30, they are at home. They don't know what they are doing. We don't even know the next thing that will happen. Most of the things got expired. So many things got expired. And if I should tell you the name of my hotel, go and check. Up to date, we are not owing Lagos State a dime.
Okay.
So what is the governor going to do concerning all these hotels?
Well
up till now, they asked us not to open.
Blessing, how did you receive, the commissioner was speaking the other day, and she was saying that, look, you know, they understood the challenges, but that the hotels are going to have to become compliant and then regularize themselves.
They can come and inspect the hotel and tell us what to do. Instead of telling us to shut down, it's unfair.
Because I seem to get that there are even palliatives in store once the regularization is complete.
Mr. Yori, okay, let me give you the name of my hotel. The name of my hotel is Buchanan Hotel and Suites. They should come and inspect and tell me what to do. And I will do instead of telling me to sit at home not doing anything.
Because you know that if they were to allow it, you think that you can manage the situation.
I have 31 rooms. Then they tell me if they want me to sell 20 rooms per day, 15 rooms per day, how should I discern it?
Okay.
Is it to sell one room and leave one room inside and go to the next one? They should tell me something.
Because that was the complaint you had the other day, that nobody seems to be paying attention to your sector. Nobody, you seem to have been abandoned. That sector seems to have been abandoned.
Yes, sir. I'm still saying it now. I'm bitter. I don't have money.
Yes, I can understand, Blessing. Thank you.
You don't understand because you are not in my shoe. I don't have money.
I take that back. I take that back. I agree with you. I agree with you. Okay. I agree with her entirely. You can't understand. You're not in my shoes, and I appreciate that. But what I really meant was that I understood the way she was putting the case across and the agony, as indeed our guests, who hopefully are they online now? Mr. Uranta, you are there. You were hearing the complaint of that lady, that hotelier. She was saying that you can't really understand. If anybody thinks that they can understand, we're in a dire situation here. I've got about 31 people, and I'd made that point that government knows. Government has said it is aware that they employ a lot of people. She said we have 31 people. That it's just costing us money, and there's no money coming in. But from her point of view, government, she's in Lagos, so she must mean Lagos State government. Nobody has even come to ask them, how are you getting on? This is what you must do. This is what we want you to do. This is what your facilities are. This is how you should. That she seems to be, she's looking at it from a point of being abandoned by government. Can you comment on that? You're in the area. You might have friends or colleagues who are also in this situation. What can you tell us?
Yes, the truth is, even we too, the people that run bars and stuff, nobody has come to ask us anything. Besides talking to you like this, nobody has come to ask us anything.
Okay.
But again, Lagos is quite large. Maybe they are talking to some people, in the industry, possibly. But then, to get government need to get the views of different people so that they can come up with something that will work out for everybody. But then, we have to bear in mind that this sector is a very important sector very important sector. The number of people that they employ, the number of facilities they run, and the value chain.
The value chain.
So like, yes.
Starting
so
from
like,
the breweries themselves.
Both the brewers, both the, up to the farmers in the field, you know, everybody have a way of, so many people, it crisscrossing to several sectors of the economy. So we have to be careful so that we don't run into a very serious depression, economic-wise. You can see even the social effects, social implication of it, showing, manifesting ways.
Okay. Let me try the phone from the phone call from YS in Amuwo Dofin. Good morning, sir.
Very good morning to you, Uncle Yori.
Thank you very much for calling in, sir.
Yes. Please, I want to. If you are only talking about the hotel alone, or can we talk about other things that are affecting Lagos?
Well, we were looking at, we've been looking at it sort of sector by sector, and now we're looking at the hospitality sector today. Yesterday, we looked at a different sector, same day before. But what did you have in mind?
Because when you are talking like column, people in Lagos now, when you talk of market, you do open
part of it.
On Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Now, if they continue this way, I want Mr. Governor to come in to say the people they should allow market to open every day.
But Mr.
What we need in Lagos now,
but Mr. Wyers,
distancing.
Mr. Wyers, I'm not Lagos State government spokesperson.
The guideline. That's what they supposed to be.
But Mr. Wyers,
looking up the
Mr. Wyers, do you understand
it's not
Mr. Wyers? Wyers, you know the principle.
Yeah, I'm listening.
I'm not government spokesman, but you know the principle behind this staggered opening. The whole principle is to diminish as much as reasonably possible the contact between people. This thing is a contact matter. That's the reason. The less days people are together in the market, the less day people are less number of people that are in churches, less number of people that are in hotels and bars, then the less chance of infection. That's the broad principle. So when you say the staccato market opening, that they should just open them up, you can see how it would go against that principle. It means too many people will be meeting each other, and that will be, you know, knocking at the safety protocol that we're sort of erecting. That's the only reason. So thank you very much for your call, Mr. Wyers. But it's a part of it. Now, what I would have liked to ask Blessing is that I'm sure they have bodies, and you're listening to me as well, Mr. Uranta. They must have bodies, associations. If, as Blessing was telling us, from her hotel, you know, she told me the name and suites, they have bodies under which they operate in a collective way. Perhaps what are those bodies doing? Just in the same way as government is meeting with groups, with bodies. For instance, government is not meeting with individual mosques and individual churches. They are meeting with their leaders. I imagine that there are leaders also in that industry, and if, as Blessing was telling us, nobody has they abandoned. They can't be abandoned is my thinking. If their body approaches government, if government hasn't approached them, if their bodies approach government and say, look, what must we do? Because Blessing was talking as an individual business person. She was talking as an individual hotelier, and I don't think that's the way it should be. What can you tell us about that? Same thing goes for you, Mr. Uranta. Your interest is in bars. Bars are not allowed to be open yet, especially standalone bars. If you also say that maybe they're talking to some people, are you able to, your body, to maybe talk with people? While you're thinking about that, sir, let me just take Amen. Is that the name I got from Lekki? Amen is calling in from Lekki. Amen. Good morning in Lekki.
Good morning, Mr. Yori. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you very much for calling in.
Please, I have two questions.
Sure.
One, how come the hotels can open and have clients sit in their restaurant and eat? And those who have restaurant like dining restaurants, that doesn't have a hotel attached to it. How come we could only do a takeout order, not a sit down? That's number one. Number two, do you have an idea when the international flights will start coming in? Because my partner has been out there for too long, stuck. And, we too need our people to come back, our loved ones, our husbands, our partners, and all that. So how long will this continue?
Okay. Thank you very much for calling in, Amen. Taking your second question first, the only thing to do is to just keep your ear to the ground. The news will be, there will be no shortage of news, because the way you feel is the way a lot of people feel. A lot of people are anxious. We want to have the transportation in and out if possible. So that is not going to be a secret. And just as we're preparing, the modalities will be told us. We will know that very, very shortly. Right now, I don't want to stick my neck out and say anything. One, I'm not qualified. I'm not any authority in that regard. But that is because everybody in the country, I imagine, well, you know what I mean, that was a bit hyperbolic, but everybody who is concerned wants to know the answer to your question. Just when can my people in the UK, in the US, or wherever, in New Zealand, book a flight to start to come in? We'll know that very, very shortly, because they will give us authorities, and you can trust the papers will blaze it. But for now, just as you don't know, I can't do better than you. Now, the other thing is indeed what we've been pondering, what you asked, that how come standalone bars can't work, can't operate, standalone restaurants can't operate, but hotels are going to be allowed to reopen in a phased sort of a way. And as you were saying, if you've been with us from Monday, we've also been wondering how that is going to work. And so this is all about communication. How is it going to work? Because whatever the principle is for inside hotels, where there's a restaurant inside an hotel or a bar inside an hotel, why isn't that also good enough for a standalone restaurant or bar? That's what we wanted to find out. I don't know, Mr. Just be patient, Mr. Uranta. I'm going to come to you, because I wanted to know if bar owners have some sort of a body, just like other groups have bodies that government is dealing with. In the meantime, Mr. Yakub has called in. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you very much for calling in. Keep it brief, please, because I'm holding people on.
I share the same opinion with Mr. Joshua from Irewolede.
Yeah, that Ogun and Lagos are the same.
I don't necessarily see any difference between Lagos and Ogun State.
In terms of the battle against COVID-19.
Reason is this: even when they banned the interstate movement, people are still moving, because the boundaries.
Not that that is right, oh. Not that that is right, oh.
That is number one. Number two, security, I give kudos to Lagos State government, because I don't see any reason why they should be rushing to open the hotels, the schools, the mosque, the church. Because if they do so, they are sending message indirectly that we are overcome this pandemic, which is not true. Because the issue is this: we have never seen the cure. I thank God that our immunity in Africa is so high to the extent that we have never recorded much more deaths.
Okay.
Thank God for that.
Thank you very much, Yakub. Mr. Yakub, I've got to interrupt you because I've completely run out of time. And also now to just touch base with Mr. Uranta. Maybe you could quickly answer the question I sort of was posing. Can you get to speak with government as a body, because you also said government has not been speaking to the bar people as well?
I'll try with that.
The audio is bad, but nevertheless, I want to thank you, Mr. Somi Uranta, for coming on. You're an entrepreneur with an interest in bars and cleaning, we were told, and Mr. Sheya Adeyemo, who was also in publisher and tourism enthusiast. And indeed, thank you, Amen, for calling in from Lekki with that question. Everybody in Nigeria wants to know the answer to that question, and it's no secret. We can't say anything from the studio now. Only the authorities can tell us that. But as soon as that date is there, it'll be known around the world. Nigeria is that popular. Everybody wants to come in. So thank you very much for joining us today. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. We'll start on time, promise. I'm Yori Folarin. Bye-bye for now.